And now it gives me great pleasure to introduce Gulf Coast Community Foundation Senior Vice President for Community Investment, John Thaxton, who's going to come up and say a few words of welcome.
Thank you, Dennis. It's always great to follow someone tall so I don't have to adjust the microphone too much. And hello everyone, and thank you for coming to this event today and celebrating with us this vital and critical work that Embracing Differences does in our community and beyond. Embracing Our Differences started the same year, 2004, that Gulf Coast Community Foundation launched our Better Together event. And in that year, 2004, we brought Harvard social scientist Robert Putnam to town to discuss the importance of social capital and how important it is to the health and the connectivity of our community. And everything the Gulf Coast has done since that time has been built on this framework of understanding the importance of social capital and making it a keystone in our initiatives and in our grant making. And that includes our long-standing relationship and partnership with Embracing Our Differences. And when I say our, I'm not just talking about the staff of Gulf Coast, but our entire family, our family of donors and friends, and we have about 35 or 40 of them in the room today. So I want to extend a personal thank you for you in joining us here today. Now, I know the crowd is pretty familiar already with the great work that the EOD does in our community, so I don't need to tell you about that, but I do want to give you kind of a little bit different slant or a little bit different view of this work. And it has to do with one of Gulf Coast's initiatives called STEM Smart. And this is where we go into the junior high schools of Sarasota County schools, and we transform the way that the teachers teach and that the students learn about mathematics and science. Now, we could talk about the metrics of that particular program in terms of grades and achievements, but I want to talk to you about something else that happened that none of us really expected. Particularly want to call out the partnership with Charles and Marjorie Baranczyk that has now expanded that not only from the science and math classes, but also into the social studies and language arts. And speaking with one of the middle school principals at these schools that have the Embracing Our Differences curriculum and the STEM Smart, last year they recognized a functional 0 number of bullying for the school year in their class. And I got it, yeah, it's a remarkable. I don't think ever have I heard the word 0 be such a beautiful number. But it is in these classrooms and with your curriculum where these students must work together to solve problems, and where the students are teaching the students and the teacher is more of an instructor guiding it, is where this partnership really worked so great. And I can't help but stand before you today and just imagine how wonderful it would be if that spirit that these students are embracing spread throughout not only our community or our region, but our country and our world. Just what a greater place it would be. So I guess I'm here to suggest to you that it's time for the students to start doing the teaching. So commend the young lady that is, or man that is sitting at your table, and congratulate them on a great job. The entirety of Sarasota County has Embracing Our Differences to thank for accepting this mantle and championing these principles of respect, inclusion, and tolerance. We need it now more than ever. And with that, I'd like to thank EOD for this opportunity to speak to you today, and I thank you all for your cooperation and support of this most amazing organization.
Thank you, Dennis. Thank you, John. Appreciate it. So I'll let you eat in a few minutes, but a few further matters of business. I would like to mention now a wonderful volunteer opportunity in connection with our 3rd annual Dr. Seuss Embracing Differences Reading Day, which will be held on Wednesday, March 2nd. Dr. Seuss books are so effective in stimulating conversations about diversity and about bullying and about character education and respecting others. Last year was a huge success with over 3,000 students and 219 volunteers participating in 208 classrooms in 21 elementary schools. But this year, in partnership with the Suncoast for Grade Level Reading, we are greatly expanding the scope of the Dr. Seuss Embracing Our Differences Day to every pre-K through the 5th grade classroom, every one of them in Sarasota and Manatee counties. So it's a major undertaking, and therefore we are asking for you to consider to be a volunteer. You can see the slide, and there should be on your table a volunteer slip that you can sign up for, and we would really ask you to consider doing it. Those people that have done it have reported back how much fun it is to interact with these young children. And Dr. Seuss, for most of us, that can bring back a lot of our childhood thoughts. So please consider doing that. Another kind of new this year, I'd like to show you the 6 works of art that are up there. And I know they're not close-ups, but on your table is a ballot. And here's what's happening. We have chosen 6 finalists to be the best of the past. And we are increasing the number of panels that will be displayed so that we can have 3 of the best from the past appear in this coming year's exhibit. So what we're going to do is we have done an internal nominating process with our steering committee, our board of directors, and our advisory board, and narrowed it down to these 6. We're going to go to the public through social media and other means to pick the final 3 that will be best of the past. There's a ballot on your table, and we thought it would be fun if you would fill out, look at those pictures, and pick the best 3 you'd like to see in this year's exhibit. And just leave the ballot on the table, and we'll pick them up after lunch is over. And now, one final thing before lunch. It gives me great pleasure to introduce my dear, dear friend, Howard Tevlevitz, who has a wonderful announcement to make.
Hold on. I have to stand on my tippy toes to get to this microphone, so I really do apologize. Dennis, thank you. I'll lower it a little bit. The Jewish Federation of Sarasota Manatee has been a community partner of Embracing Our Differences from the very beginning of the exhibit coming to Sarasota. Our missions align, tearing down the barriers, be it religious, racial, gender, age, or sexual orientation. I am so proud to announce that yesterday our Federation budget for 2016 was approved. The Jewish Federation is increasing our commitment to Embracing Our Differences, this fantastic partner of ours, to $50,000 in the upcoming year. I really want to take this opportunity to thank my buddy in the back, Michael Shelton, for always picking up the phone when I call and jumping through hoops so we can continue this amazing community-wide impactful partnership. And Dennis, and to the whole EOD committee, thank you, and thank you.
And again, I want to start off just by saying thank you for being here and giving us the opportunity to give you a glimpse of some of the work that we're doing in our community. Through the transformational power of the arts, we educate and inspire to create a better world. That's our mission. So I repeat it. Through the transformational power of the arts, we educate and inspire to create a better world. And as we pursue our mission, we envision a world that values diversity, respects differences, and actively rejects hatred and prejudice. These are pretty lofty ideals, but when you think about the world around us today, for many of us there is a moral imperative to carry these values not only in our hearts and minds, but in our actions. And so in that context, I would tell you that embracing our differences is about strengthening the moral and ethical fiber of our community. And thank you, Joe. And to be more specific, it's about reinforcing in ourselves and teaching our children the values of kindness and courage, the importance of civility and respecting others, even if they are different, avoiding stereotyping and name-calling, and standing up against hatred and prejudice and not be a bystander. Now, we pursue this mission through two very focused activities. Our outdoor art exhibit that's displayed down at their beautiful Bayfront Park every year during April and May, and our education initiatives. And I would like now to take a few minutes and show you a short video that will give you an idea about the actual experience of embracing our differences, both at the park, at the exhibit, and in the classroom. And as Brett keys that up, we owe a great debt of gratitude to a person I know a lot of people here respect, and that's Bill Waggy, who did this video for us. So Brett, if you would show the video.
Hello, I'm Lori White, Superintendent of Sarasota County Schools. I'd like to take this opportunity to give you information about a wonderful event in our community. Since 2004, our community has been privileged to host an exhibition that is a celebration of diversity. The Embracing Our Differences exhibit significantly supports our efforts to create a climate of mutual respect and openness to differences in our schools. Through the efforts of our community, thousands of children have experienced firsthand how diversity enriches our lives and elevates the human experience.
By exposing people to this kind of difference, the difference in the artwork. Every piece here is different, and it has a different message, that it will open people up to say, I don't have to be afraid of differences. In fact, differences really can enhance my life.
It's important that we look at a project like this and be able to align it to the curriculum and really have the teachers motivated to use it with their students. And by working with the teachers the way we did and interacting with the curriculum, bringing it right to them, aligning it, teachers from anywhere can use this art to talk about character education, getting along with others. All of those pieces are already embedded, and it's accessible for any teacher.
If the flowers were all gray, we need color in our lives.
Nothing is stupid at all. It's really showing a symbol that it doesn't matter if we're different, even if our bodies are different.
I like the one that was back there that had all the different bottles that show different places around the world, and they were all pouring themselves into a pitcher and they made the earth.
So when you look at these images here in the park, they touch you a different way and open up your hearts in a way that I think just words by themselves don't do.
It's an opportunity for our children and our teachers to have honest conversations and talk about what's going on and what's going to make this society and this county and this school district and their neighborhoods a better place.
We all have a deep sense that if we can get the message that Embracing Our Differences represents to the children year after year, more and more children in our county, we are going to create an environment in our county that everybody's going to be proud of.
We're looking at this artwork and we all have different interpretations of it, that we might not see exactly what the artist meant, but we may see something else.
Kids and religions and different races.
I must be the change I wish to see in the world. Who said that?
Yes, I revised the Mahatma Gandhi saying.
It really just shows how the different faces can come together and kind of blur and make one big humankind family.
I like this because it reminds me of my past and that people shouldn't hate themselves for anything, no matter what the reason.
We're all different, but we can all come together to get something done.
It's always nice to see what other people have to say.
It's okay to have an opinion, but don't show up wrapped inside one.
Happy together.
Just because they're different doesn't mean that they can't be friends.
Even though you're different, you can still love each other.
Life is not good without differences.
So with that perspective, I would like to show you a few graphs that demonstrate the growth that we have achieved since we first began in 2004. The first graph shows how our overall attendance has grown from 95,000 in our first year to 271,000 this past year. So the word is out. Thank you. The word is out as more and more people are becoming aware of the creativity and the inspiration that is represented in our exhibit. And the fact that we have now had 2.1 million people for the 12 years that we've been there is something we're very proud of. The next graph shows how we've increased the number of submissions to be considered for inclusion in the artwork, in the exhibit. As you can see from the graph, in 2005, the first year we did our own exhibit, we had 124 submissions for 39 pieces of artwork to be displayed. Through the creative efforts of Michael and Tim Camarese, our artistic director, utilizing the power of the internet, we have reached out across the world and throughout the United States with our call to artists. This effort has resulted in, and you can see that, almost 6,500 submissions this past year. And as you can see, they came from 80 countries around the world, and it shows total 80 countries and 50 states around the world. This past year, we had from 42 states and 118 schools. Also, we have deeply engaged our teachers and our students in this artistic process, so as a result, virtually half of the submissions come right from here in Sarasota and Manatee County. So we basically have a combination of a local and international exhibit, and it really, as a consequence, creates a very powerful message. So we've come a long way since 2004. But more importantly, this submission piece shows that we basically have an unending supply of art and quotations because of the creativity of the human heart and human mind. The next graph shows our 7 educational initiatives. These include free field trips to the exhibit and to other mission-driven venues throughout the school year, curriculum-aligned lesson plans for teachers to use when visiting the park with their children, multiple types of teacher workshops, our Make a Day of It program where a teacher can take her students to another venue after they've been to the exhibit, the classroom experience of the kids actually creating artwork to submit for the exhibit, our student docent program whereby a docent-trained high school student accompanies an elementary class while they tour the exhibit. And lastly, our community collaborative efforts, for which Embracing Our Differences this past year received the 2015 WEDU Arts and Culture Award, as well as the Patterson Foundation Collaborative Innovator Award in 2013. Each of these 7 initiatives, thoughtfully created and professionally conducted, play a significant role in achieving our vision of having generations of children from pre-K through the 12th grade hear the important messages of embracing our differences. And so this next graph is perhaps the most important because it shows the reach that we have achieved since we began in 2004. When our only educational initiative was our busing program, and we bused in 1,200 kids to see the exhibit. This year, over 30,000 students participated in the various initiatives that we have. And when I look up and see that 200,000 number, that's 200,000 students we've touched in the 12 years. It's very heartwarming for us to look at that. At the heart of all of these initiatives stand our teachers. who are the most important emissaries of embracing our differences and the values that we stand for. With that in mind, we have developed our educational initiatives to provide in various ways meaningful support to our teachers, including hands-on workshops. And I want to tell you about one of them that we did this past summer. We had our first annual Summer Diversity Workshop. It was conducted after school was closed. We were astounded at the attendance. 45 teachers and administrators attended this 3-day workshop. And where the ultimate purpose of the workshop was for each teacher or administrator to have the tools to go home and create an anti-bullying program they could take to their schools back in the fall, when fall came around. For that many teachers, think of it, 45 teachers and administrators with no compensation, taking vacation time to attend a full 3-day workshop is a real credit to Michael and our staff. And we have developed a stellar reputation for creating workshops that are meaningful, creative, and important for these teachers. And I don't think we disappointed this time, because when we did the survey of the 45 teachers that attended that exhibit, virtually every one of them, ranked and said that it was the best workshop they'd been at. Everyone, unanimous that this was the best workshop they've been at. One quote, one comment that was used was, "This was the absolute best professional development program that I've ever attended." And we're not done with that. In January, the same 45 people are coming back together to share the ideas and the experiences they had with one another with the programs that they created in the fall, so that we will continually improve that process. One of the attendees at the workshop was Penny Riedinger, the supervisor of all guidance counselors here in Sarasota County. And I think Penny is with us here today. When the workshop was over, she came up to our staff and said, "This workshop is so important. I want all of my guidance counselors in Sarasota County to be able to experience it." And there are 100 of them. So we're in the process now of creating one-day mini workshops so that every guidance counselor in Sarasota County can be exposed to this important work. And while it's wonderful to hear all that praise, the more important message here is that bullying is a serious problem in Sarasota County, as it is across our country. Every 2 years, the school district conducts a survey, comprehensive survey of all the students, and they include questions about bullying. The last survey demonstrated how serious the problem is. And I'll give you just one statistic. Over 10% of the students who took the survey said they had skipped school in the last 30 days because of bullying. 10%. Frightening. Give you a perspective, we have 42,000 children going to school here in Sarasota County. So recognizing the need to address the issue and following our mission of using the arts to educate and inspire, we have brought in a national anti-bullying music tour, which is a concert-based platform that features popular teen recording artists who deliver uplifting and powerful messages about bullying through a highly engaging 90-minute assembly. And most of these performers are real professionals and have been on the national TV shows such as The Voice, American Idol, and The X Factor. There is no other anti-bullying program quite like this one. So let me show you a very short video of what our kids here, and I'll tell you about that, experience here in Sarasota.
anti-bullying message is important to me because back in 8th grade, it became a very, very personal problem in my life. I was bullied to the point where I got put into a hospital to get my head straight, make sure I could stay strong. And now that I am, and I've overcome what I went through, I just want to make sure I can get the message out to a lot of the students out there, and hopefully they relate and they can stay strong and keep their head up and join me with the fight to success.
We have brought the All-Star Nation Anti-Bullying Tour, as that is known as, to Sarasota on 2 occasions. And they've already performed in front of 10,000 kids. And we had Brandon, who was the young man that spoke there, over to our house. They really are quality people who are doing this because they know what it's like to be bullied. And they know that they have the power to get the attention of the kids. When they came last May, Gracie and I went and saw a couple of the performances. And we really were touched by what happened. So when the kids come into the auditorium to see the performance, they're actually told, forget you're in school, you're now at a concert. And we want you to get up and dance and sing along and turn on your cell flash and wave your cell phones while they're singing. But the kids are also told that each of the singers has a very important message to share with you. So when they're speaking, we want you to be quiet. We want you to give them the respect they deserve, and we want you to listen to them. Well, that's exactly what happened here in Sarasota. We saw the kids knew all of the songs and really had a great time, just like the kids in that video. But I would tell you, when these performers stood up and told their stories, you could hear a pin drop in the Riverview Auditorium. It was so touching. The stories are so powerful because they are so personal to these performers. And they also are full of good advice, and it's impactful because it's their peers talking to them. These are teenage performers. So we're bringing back the All-Star Nation Tour in the spring, and we plan to continue to work with them to develop curricula around this very powerful way to touch our kids. Now, every organization we're supporting is continuously looking at whether or not the mission that they're conducting is actually affecting the outcomes they want to affect. And we certainly do that at Embracing Our Differences. Every year we take multiple surveys of our teachers and children. We formally survey the public when they come to see the artwork. And as you've seen, we count attendance, student participation. But beyond the numbers and the statistics, we have real life stories and experiences which now are so many and so powerful that I know personally we're changing lives. And one of the key elements to the success of the changes that we're making with these kids is the fact that we have the opportunity to impact these students not just once, but over a series of years and in multiple ways to the same student. And so today, in the last part of our program, you're going to hear from an exceptional young woman who has been impacted by virtue of having been engaged in our work over the years she was in the Sarasota County school system. And before I introduce her to you, I want to share 2 stories to kind of set the stage. Please take a look at the slide up on this. Some of you may remember this was in the 2011 exhibit. And this piece of artwork's entitled, "It Doesn't Matter." And it's a fun, upbeat piece by a 4th grader. And it has a pretty clear message. But it also brings home the point about the power of having children engaged in embracing our differences year after year. And here's how we know that. In her artist statement, which is required to be submitted by every artist when they submit for acceptance into the exhibit. In her artist statement, here's what she said. I looked at the images in the 2009 exhibit. I went to the exhibit on a field trip in 2010, and in 2011, I created my own artwork. My theme is, it doesn't matter what color we may be, we can all still be friends. But now here's the punchline from that artist statement, the fourth grader. This project changed the way I looked at people when I saw them. That's simple. This project changed the way I looked at people, the way I saw them. And this is from a fourth grader that had participated for at least 3 years prior to submitting her artwork. Another story to bring home the point. Some of you will remember last year, the next slide, and the artist that was our featured speaker last year, Nicole Pelletier. Nicole had created this piece to honor her dad, who had served in the military and was severely burned while doing that, and suffered from being stared at and ridiculed because he was disfigured. Nicole told a very powerful story that touched us all. I want to share with you part of a letter we just received from Nicole, and the context was that Nicole was asking us if she could name us as a reference in her college application process. So I want to read you what she said to us in asking that. My experience with embracing our differences was most monumental, she says, and has made the greatest impact on the person that I have become. I have become, she says, I have begun my college application process, and I always find myself reflecting on how much my poster and my speech have brought me out of my shell and given me the confidence to be myself. And now I feel as though I have the potential to do great things in college. I tell you, when I read something like that, can't tell you the joy I feel inside. This is the stuff of inspiration that motivates all of us to do the work that we do. Our speaker today, who has also given many of us in embracing our differences that same gift of inspiration, is currently a senior at Boston University and will become a middle school teacher upon graduation. While going to school here in Sarasota, she participated in various ways over a number of years, including being a docent down at the park and helping shape the Riverview Coexistence Club in its early years. It's my great pleasure to introduce to you Rebecca Leopold.
Thank you, Dennis. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for inviting me to be with you today. As Dennis said, I'm a senior at Boston University, where I'm working on becoming a middle school teacher. The experiences I had from my participation with Embracing Our Differences while in Sarasota County Schools had a great impact on shaping my college experiences and who I am. It started in middle school when my class created and submitted artwork to EOD. We explored concepts like coexistence, diversity, tolerance, and worked on explaining these ideas through art. When I arrived at Riverview High School, I was a wide-eyed teenager just hoping to make a difference in the world. I joined the Coexistence Club and acted as a docent at the exhibit for 3 years. I became an officer for our club and was a student representative on the Embracing Our Differences steering committee. As a result of my involvement in these different activities, I entered college with a greater understanding of the values of diversity, being an upstander, justice, and equality. EOD has empowered me with the knowledge that positive change from the global to the community level starts with me and indeed it starts with all of us. EOD strongly influenced my motivations to become active in the communities I'm a part of. For example, when Black men at our university felt profiled by the police department, my peers and I stepped up and worked with the department to create lasting policy changes. Now, we have a much safer environment for our Black students. Last summer, I got the opportunity to speak to over 1,000 freshmen on the values embracing our differences taught me. I stressed the importance of finding common ground, not making assumptions about others, letting our own walls down. We learn that there is more that brings us together than pulls us apart. Outside of Boston University, I work at an after-school academic program where I teach visual thinking strategies to my own middle school students. The docent techniques I learned from EOD have been invaluable in this endeavor as I guide my students through the process of thinking about and getting a greater meaning through art. We live in a time of intense political divisiveness. At times, it seems impossible to find that common ground with each other. But art, and the stories art tells, have the capacity to transcend differences and tap into our ability to empathize with each other. Art is a universally accessible medium through which we can come together and rediscover our common humanity. Art asks nothing of us but to come to it with an open mind and an open heart. EOD has instilled in me some of the values I truly hold most dear. But this did not happen in a single day at the exhibit or even a single year with the Coexistence Club. It has been and still is a journey. The real triumph of embracing our differences is not in the singular, although spectacular, public art exhibit. It is in giving students and adults the opportunity to contemplate critical themes through visual art. It is in bringing together diverse people through artistic expression, in providing teachers with the tools to effectively incorporate EOD themes into their classrooms. It is in providing anti-bullying programs to students. And of course, it is in bringing thousands of students and visitors to the exhibit every year and connecting them with thoughtful and talented docents. Not once, but week after week, year after year after year. It is precisely because students like me interact with embracing our differences so frequently when we grow up in this county that it is effective in its goal to use arts to educate and create a better world. EOD has taken on the critical task of helping to shape the young people in our community into more thoughtful, kind, and accepting citizens. I am honored EOD has been such an important part of my life, and I continue to be inspired by the work they do. But most of all, I am incredibly thankful for embracing our differences and those of you who support the efforts of embracing our differences. In doing so, you have supported me. You have given me the memories, the lessons, and the values I will take with me for the rest of my life. Thank you.
What a treat, huh? Anyhow, that's our program. Thank you for coming this year, and we'll look forward to seeing you again.